up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Hops Geek News, a podcast that talks about comic books, movies, TV shows, and of course, we feature a sweet, delicious beer of the week. If you're looking for us because you somehow stumbled upon us, Hops Geek News on any podcasting platform, any social media platform, that's where we'll be at. Come hang out, have a good time. If you feel so inclined, you can head to patreon.com/HopsGeekNews and support the show. Everything goes right back into it. And as always, we appreciate you guys. So I am Matt. With me is Lauren. I don't have a beer, but Lauren, before we get to you real quick, we do have a guest today. Jesse from Foreign Press is going to come chat with us. We're going to talk about his new video game, his new comic book. We're going to get the inside scoop, so to speak. And if you feel so inclined, the link to all of that good stuff will be in this show. That's right. Good Day Games. Lauren, before we get to Jesse, go ahead, kick us off with what are you drinking?
I am drinking a Recursion IPA from Bottle Logic Brewing. So you were just at Bottle Logic Brewing the other day. So I figured I would open some of the beer from the brewery you were just at. Did you send me this one? Josh actually bought this one recently at a local bottle shop. So we're getting it out here too.
Oh, well, look at that. I bought his beer from there. So to send you a beer from there and the other brewery I went to this weekend in Los Angeles. I will say I did just finish a beer called Friends, Frenz IPA, and this is actually a collaboration from Bellbreaker Brewing Company and Georgetown Brewing Company. It's a 6.8% IPA. It's wicked good. They were just celebrating 10 years over at Bellbreaker, and so they went ahead and they supersized their Friends collab, which normally is a Lego artwork on the can. But with this one,
we've had that one.
Yes, we had this one. They went ahead and they brewed their very first batch of Friends back in 2016. And it brings citrus energy, juicy fruit, and pine notes. It was a wicked light beer, really good. It's like a West Coast IPA. They called it IPA, but no, this was a West Coast IPA. They just left off the West, and delicious.
Well, that's the original IPA. It's the West Coast. I feel
true.
like
That is true.
I mean, I feel like there's a debate there. You could go back and forth, but
the old
if it ain't murky or hazy,
East Coast versus West Coast, and I don't feel like getting shot up.
The feud will never end.
My truck, so. That said, let's go ahead. Jesse, welcome to the show. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Good Games and Good Days.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry, Lauren, Matthew. Yeah, it's actually Good Days, plural. It's a common mistake. People like to just say Good Day because who doesn't want to have one?
We watch Ted Lasso. We get
Hops Geeks News all the time. So
yeah, Good Days Games, plural. And I am the owner, founder, all the fun stuff. I am the head guru of this. It is a board game publishing company. I focus on designing the games that are in my head and ultimately outsourcing and growing to do other types of projects. But for the most part, my heart lies within it's called the Escape Death Race 2182 realm. It's a universe I've created. I've actually created a comic book, issue 1 of 10. That is coming to Kickstarter. We might talk about in a little bit, which goes hand in hand with my board game. So the premise is I've designed a board game in advance, and actually the board game I have 2 versions of it. One that already exists. It's a micro game. It's called Escape Death Race 2182.
For anyone just listening, it's like the size of an Altoid can.
Yeah, it's exactly that. It's the size of an Altoid can. On the back, you can barely see there. And this is all on my website, GoodDaysGames.com. And it is for sale currently. It was originally created on a website called The Game Crafter. God bless them. They're an awesome group. And I couldn't have really gotten the momentum without their help. So I'm very grateful for that. So what I've done is I took this to Kickstarter in 2020 and it was successful. And what I did is essentially I manufactured, I took all the components, manufactured it from my garage and had about 1,000 of those pre-made. And I've been going to conventions in Los Angeles, the Strategicon. I've become a kind of a go-to, one of their vendors that they have there for the last year and a half. It's been awesome. Shout out to Victor. And essentially what I've wanted to do is make a bigger version of the game that actually fits in a small box. I don't have handy. It's all the way over there in China, but it's coming to Kickstarter, and that one is it's the same game, except because this beautiful mint tin does not fit things like race cars and dice. I do have those are going to be part of the bigger box version, as well as on the micro version, all the rules are on a QR code on the inside of the mint tin.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
it's downloadable. Thank you. And so I actually have a physical rule book that was created, which I love. And there's an actual game board, because this game, what it is, Escape Death Race 2182 Micro is a tile placing race car themed dungeon crawl that puts 1 to 4 players against each other and the game. Ultimately, you're uncovering a new road. You're building a road with new road tiles every time. And you have to uncover 3 sub bosses and discover the final boss. Not only defeat the boss, but be the last person standing to live. So it is a King of the Hill element. It's a completely competitive game. So it's not cooperative, even though if you play it incorrectly, it feels like it's very easy for the game to feel like it's competitive, because
it feels like you're teaming up and you're like, wow, it's like we're together. Like, that's how I know the game is wrong.
Exactly. And then you're like, well, wait a minute, but if I'm the one to defeat the boss, I get the rewards. So you actually, at the end of it, you might want your friends, I call them frenemies in this game. You want your frenemies to actually beat or to deal 1 death, 1 stroke away from defeat. And then you come in and do that final death blow, because it's going to re-up your inventory, your weapons, your powers. Those are going to get reboosted for defeating the boss. It's a very quick game. It takes about 15 to 30 minutes, depending on player count. I usually add 10 minutes per player. So I've done a lot of demos with this over the last year and a half, and it's been awesome. And so all of this in my head, I've actually wanted to create the story, the lore behind it. Like, why is this here? Because these are not just race cars. They're actually, they're super race cars that go, they're fighting crazy monsters. So even the name race is in the game. This is not a racing game. This is a dungeon crawl. So I have to make that clear up front. Racing games are great. I have a few on my shelf behind me. Those are awesome. But this is a dungeon crawl through and through. So what I've decided to do was actually, my objective over the next probably 24 months is that I'm going to finalize 10 comic books. Those will go to Kickstarter in groups. And then all 10 of these comic books, actually, the story-wise, they lead up to the final death race, which is the micro and the one coming to Kickstarter, which I've been trying to get to. It's the same game. It's micro, but it's called the LS edition. LS is for Legendary Stratos. So it's the Legendary Stratos League, where these vigilante-like members are they're forced into this death race by a common enemy, and they have to essentially get through it. But of course, as luck would have it, they were cast upon a revenge spell where they no longer like each other. So the characters in the story actually are friends, but because of circumstances, they're forced to go against each other.
Hence
and so this is all This is all going to unravel at the end in volume 10 of the comics. I've never written a comic before until now, and it's 18 pages of pure bliss for me, and I can't wait to get it out to you guys.
That's awesome. This looks, I mean, I like board games in general, so this sounds like it's something that's kind of fun. And is it kind of an all ages type game that any age can play? Because I have a 7-year-old who probably would die to play this as well.
Yes, for legal reasons, I think 14 and up is what you should be selling games at. But I'm calling this a limited edition of the ones I pre-manufactured. It is 8 and 8 plus. I've demoed it with children younger, and their family, and they love it. I mean, there's the roads themselves, the tiles are colorful, and the thematics are it's simple. You roll a dice or you draw. This game actually doesn't fit dice in that mint tin, so I created a deck of 4 cards. It's a D4 draw deck simulator. So you shuffle the cards. It's 1 through 4, and that will determine how many road tiles you draw, and you create a new road, and then you move your character up to that many spaces. Either way, yes, I've gotten good reactions from kids.
Nice.
Well, and I like that it's a shorter type game, because honestly, Monopoly is my least favorite game because it just never ends.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's not behind me.
I love playing shorter games personally too, because my attention span is obviously not one that I'm going to sit there and play Risk for days. Although I love Risk, but you know how it is. I'm just ADHD. So shorter type game. And then it kind of makes it fun and interesting too, because you say it's not a race, but at the same time, it kind of is, because instead of being first, you kind of would be last in this case. The last one to deal gets the rewards. And I really like that aspect too. It's something I haven't really.
Well, if you're not first, you're last though, right?
Yeah, but
Ricky Bobby,
you want to be last now. It's finally, I'm good at something.
And before we get too far, I just want to make sure that, I do my due diligence.
Ranger,
I'm drinking a New Belgium Voodoo Ranger, and it's from Imperial IPA.
You can't go wrong with a New Belgium IPA.
Yeah. Very, very tasty.
So where did you kind of get the idea for the company then? Like what got you into like the board game? Because we've interviewed a lot of people. We've talked to illustrators for video games. We talked to indie comic book creators, but you're the first like board game creator. I always think How I Met Your Mother when I hear like a board game creator, which is my favorite show ever. And like I said, in our household, we have one of those love sack couches, and we have an entire stowaway, whatever you want to call it, ottoman that is just full of board games. So we're all about them here. I love it.
Well, it's a fun story, and I'll keep it as short as and brief and to the point, because I'm great at just going off on tangents. But ultimately, I played this World War II game back in the early 2000s, and they had a lot of modifications for it. And one of the modifications was a racing game. Again, racing. It was loosely, there was no monsters or aliens, but it was still not your typical racing game. These cars had to go through obstacles and get through challenges to get to the end. It was mainly an obstacle course type of game. It had different fields, different levels made by different creators, had different feels for it. So for the most part, it was like that. And I fell in love with that game. Essentially, you can get in the game. It's called IS-82 or Interstate 1982, and it's a throwback. It's from the Battlefield 1942 PC game. So that PC game, Battlefield 42, had hundreds, maybe at least 100, if not more, mods. So I became involved with the modding crew of this game. When I discovered them, they'd already made they made the mod itself, which had 12 maps, and the community probably made about another 50 to 100 maps by the time I discovered them. I essentially just fell in love with the community. I created another 30 levels for the mod, and this is found on is82.com. It's still a free downloadable game. I run a Discord channel for that separately. And so what this game was, one day 9 years ago, I was sitting in my girlfriend, now wife, and baby mama's kitchenette at her apartment, and I was sitting there. I was a total geek. I would bring my laptop with me to her apartment when we would hang out, and just in case things got a little slow, I was so comfortable with her from the start. I love it. But I'd bring my laptop. If things were slow, if she was doing something, I'd take out my computer and just play some of this Interstate game. And then I was sitting there, I was like, this would make a good board game. And I wasn't a huge fan of board games. I'm the youngest in my family, the youngest of four. So when I played Monopoly and Risk and Clue, all these games, I always got my ass handed to me because they were always beating me. So I grew up with a stigma of like, games are fine, they're cool, but I never really got into it. But I related board games to this game, and I was like, how can I do it? So I just opened up a new folder and a new text document on my computer and just started typing rules and ideas, and it kind of barrel rolled and steamrolled into this. And so I just kept going with it. I have on the wall just bigger versions. I actually do have a macro version of this game that I plan on demoing soon and getting out. It's probably 80% finished. And again, back to GameCrafter, and the Mint Tin is, I discovered this company who was doing a Mint Tin challenge. And they essentially were saying they were doing a game that if everything can fit in their components of this Mint Tin, you can enter it into their contest. So that essentially made me streamline my game into a smaller version. So this is going to be a bigger version, maybe a 2 to 3 hour version that's going to come out. It'll probably be the next game. But yes, this all came from video games.
I love it. Video games are video games are amazing. I love video games. I still play them to this day. And it's funny, you said you're the youngest. I'm the oldest, so I'm used to always whooping everybody's ass. Exactly. And so it's getting that inverse kind of thing. And so what other games besides, is this like the first game you guys have, or like what other games do you guys have in the catalog?
Well, this is the first. This is and of course the way the dice fell is it's going to be the same game, just two versions of it. Yeah, so it's going to be the same game, but it's like the one coming to Kickstarter in the next probably 30 to 45 days. That is going to be the same game, just a little bit bigger, just a bigger box. So I still feel like I only have one title under my belt because it's the same game, just a different format. Other than that, I have about 3 other prototypes, maybe 4, but in different phases of completion. One being the macro I mentioned, that's about 80% done. I do have the sequel to all these games that's going to be called, it's called Coppermine, where everyone except maybe some select few actually escape the death race, and they travel through a portal trying to get home, and they end up somewhere else. This is kind of a bit of a teaser. This is going to actually be Comic 11, and it will tee up its own board game. So I'm kind of getting the way it's all coming undone is my board games are going to turn into comic books or vice versa, however you want to look at it. There's going to be a line where some things don't, but the how the story is unraveling, there's definitely going to be probably at least a 15 to 20 comic books run through for the Escape Death Race series. So not to mention some other endeavors I'm thinking about. It's so easy to come up with an idea, but that once you actually start putting pen to paper or what have you to notepad, and you start fleshing out rules. With that said, I probably have about 5 prototypes.
Nice. And now going to the comic book side of things, have you always been a fan of comic books, or is this kind of like hey, you know what, this would be something fun that we brought to like animation or bring it to life in a different way?
Yeah, that goes back to being the youngest. My brother, he was the oldest, and we had 2 sisters in between. He loved comic books, and he had his collection of Marvel and his DC comics. I just remember just him showing me, and he was 6 years older than me, and going through it. And so I always had an appreciation for comics, but I'd never owned really any comics of my own. Similar, like a throwback of the board games. Like I didn't own any board games before I started creating my own, but I always had that appreciation and respect for this industry. So that's so the only thing I could remember all these awesome epic Wolverine covers, Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, just these epic Joker ones where Batman died and this happened and that. And I loved it. But did I actually read those comic books? I did not. So this all goes back to my story of Escape Death Race and how I want this to be my own universe. And I want to fulfill it to the best of my ability. So I don't have a lot of comic book, literature read underneath, over the years, but I do have an appreciation for it.
Now, with the comic, are you writing and working with an artist?
Yes, I'm the author, and I hired a awesome author. I did send you the trailer. I don't know if you had a chance to look at that,
yes.
but
I did. Yeah, I like that the main hero is a woman. I'm just going to throw that out there. I thought that was cool.
A fun fact is that character is not in the board game. I actually used her. I used her to kind of tie it in of all the other characters. I just felt like I needed something new, so I created a new character because I felt like I've been just dealing with these same characters or working with them for so long that I wanted something fresh. So that's where Cami Zuka came in, and the shit, I forgot your question. I was having so much.
I was working with the artist.
Yes. I use outsourcing on a regular. I'm the author of the comic. I wrote everything for that. And what I did is I use places like Fiverr to find artists, graphics designers, and I've had good luck. I've had great luck with it. And so what this comic book represents, the people that went into it, awesome man, Ricardo Silva. He's out of Argentina. He did all the art for it. I hired another awesome gentleman whom I'm having a brain fart, and he actually made it animated for that trailer that I showed you. And I did hire a voiceover actress to do the voiceover for Cami Zuka for the trailer. So there's a lot of hands that get involved. By no means am I savvy at doing everything. I love to get other people involved because that's the only way I'm going to see my dreams ever potentially come to light is by getting help. I believe in who, not how. If you want to get something done, it's not always about how you do it. It's about who you can help get you there.
You got to delegate to those people who are better at you than in certain areas. Now, is the art with the video game and the comic consistent?
It is not. So the art is different than the comic book. I did go through a long process of essentially when I said I streamlined the micro game or the macro game into a micro. When I started this process, I had an artist slash graphics designer slash everything, and he helped me get the game to a very far state. And so what I did, we ended up we've stopped our relationship at this point. We put a pause on it, and so when I picked it up again, I reached out to someone else. I took the assets that I had from the macro and combined that with their skill set to make Good Days Games. At that point, before it was just called deathrace82.com, but I changed it to be Good Days Games. And a throwback to you, Matt, is Good Day, not S, but now singular. Good Day was my name in the Battlefield mod when I played the game. So that's where the name Good Day came from. My original Battlefield 42 name was It's a Good Day to Die. And I downsized it to Good Day. And then, of course, so Good Days is actually, there should be like an apostrophe. It should be Good Days as far as plural. It's my, or that type of thing. It's my good day.
Yeah,
and it's not, so it's not it's not just a good day that happens upon everybody.
Yeah, that makes that for sure. And that makes a lot of sense too. And I always loved I played that game so much. So it's kind of fun seeing like that's where everything came from.
42?
Yeah, I'm having flashbacks to when I was younger. Just I played the hell out of that game. So
that's awesome.
Having a lot.
It's still around. I've played it a little. I still play it every couple of months when I can actually consider doing it. I don't know. Whenever you memorize a game, you've played it so much. Like as soon as the level starts, you just go.
Your fingers just go. Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I am with Battlefield. I do feel like I'm a little bit of a household name around some of the older folk, but the game is still going. It's still a free download. And so people still find it. And the community leaders, the different websites and channels that are servers that are running it, it's not supported by
that's right.
EA Games. They dropped support for that about probably 8 years ago. And so the community had to actually rise up and make sure that it was available for the existing community and for the new community. And so there's still about maybe 3 to 4 servers max that are running it. And I have a server that runs the interstate version, is82.com. So I'm an active leader for the interstate. And of course, so all the Battlefield members, and the ones that are diehard to the roots, which I am too, they we all know who each other are, and we respect each other and try to help each other out where we can. But for the most part, I kind of cringe when I think about playing Battlefield because I've played thousands of hours. It's just so hard to even pick up the mouse and keyboard and just try to go at it again. So what I'd like to do is be present for the interstate community. And I do have, luck every now and then, as long as I keep that door open, people will come from the Battlefield and they'll talk about it and they'll share and they'll come back, and I'm just there to greet them. And it's funny. There's a guy who, and some of the characters from Interstate, my board game, rather, the Escape Death Race, they're named after friends from the Battlefield community, from the Interstate community. So a couple guys like to call me the Lord of IS-82 because when I get on there, I'll do crazy stunts and tricks that it takes a lot of years to master.
Absolutely.
Now, you mentioned you've been to cons with the games. Do you have any upcoming cons you'll be at?
Yes, I will be at in September. We're going back to Strategicon. It's the household favorite, and that's at the LAX Hilton. That's the promised one. After that, I don't have any locked in. I have been to Dice Tower West in Las Vegas. That was the only other non-Strategicon that I've been to. Last year, I was trying to get up to Canada. There's the Shucks, or Shut Up and Sit Down convention. They're big. And it is my goal to get out to Indianapolis. There's the Gen Con, and as well as one day I wouldn't mind going to Essen. That's the big name convention. So for now, what I want to do is just spend time with kind folk like yourself and actually spend more time talking to the mic. And this is, that way I can get more reach and hopefully get more people aware of what I'm doing and what I'm trying to create and get some more eyes on it. The conventions are awesome. I love demoing the game, and I'm going to keep doing that. But the goal is to get, people under me that they could actually get there for me, because I just need to keep growing the name. And it's so important to me to keep living this dream. And yeah, I have a day job, and that's fueling all of this. And in the meantime, any chance I get, I'll get the exposure.
We all do too. All day jobs. One day, you know what? That's the dream. And it's good. Follow your dreams. It's 2023, right? Like life's too short to be thinking and sitting around and
waiting for Matt to start singing. I have a dream.
I have a dream. Yes. And funny enough, I was just actually in Los Angeles myself this past weekend. So it's really rad.
What part?
Oh God, I was in Agora Hills, and then I stayed down by. It's never going to be the Crypto Arena. It's the Staples Center, and of course I shot down to Anaheim as well. I was all over the place. Like our primary hotels were the Hotel Indigo, and then we stayed up at the Sheraton in Agora because I was there for a wedding. But I had a rental car, and I went everywhere and anywhere, and kind of just explored.
Well, next time you're here, I'm about 40 minutes east of Los Angeles. So,
right on.
Heck yeah. We'd love to have you.
That would be awesome. And I would love to absolutely keep following, what Good Days is doing, and check out this game as well. And it's, like I said, it sounds right up my alley. We love board games. Comic books, of course, is another thing from somebody who's also writing his first comic book. I can't wait to check out the one that you're putting out there too. And Lauren, what do you got as well?
I don't think I have anything else. I guess really just tell everybody exactly where to find you, social media, the Kickstarter, all that good stuff. And obviously, if you're listening on the podcast or on YouTube, the links will also be in the bio and description.
Yes.
And not Foreign Press. Matt got mixed up. That was when I was interviewing beforehand. I apologize. We're trying to push so many Kickstarters right now. And he just got back from vacation. I'm like overwhelming him. But if you do want to hear about Foreign Press, that is on our Instagram and our YouTube. I slept in
like a week. I am so sorry. I saw
get it together, Matt.
After, and she was like,
if only he had a big sign behind his head that said the name of what he was representing.
That's what I was confused.
I pointed at it. It was fair.
That's why I was confused at first, because I was also looking at the. I'm sorry. That's
throwing a lot at you right now.
I told Lauren
he's in the process of moving.
Not my best.
I wasn't sure tonight was going to happen, honestly.
Well, I appreciate you guys for having me. And yes, GoodDaysGames.com, Good Days Games Instagram, Facebook. That's where I'm at right now, and that's where you can find. We have a pre-launch link where you can be notified of our launch when we do go live for this Kickstarter. If you want to get in on the comic, I'd love to have you. There's another fun thing. I don't know. Are either of you guys fans of trading card games?
Heck
yeah. You got the Pokemons, the Yu-Gi-Ohs.
All Yu-Gi-Oh, all of it. My son's into it now too.
A fun fact.
Logan wants to start collecting them.
Fun fact. My brother, he's created his own game. So a little plug here for Philip Siegel. He made Dream Book. It's a trading card game, and he's been going at it for about 2 years now. We are doing a collaboration for the Kamizuka comic book, where if you go, I have 2 covers. I have the standing still pose where she's chilling by her car, and I have the action pose. So the standing still chill pose by her car, we're going to include a Dream Book a card that features Kamizuka, the same character that he drew and created its own rule set for his game. And that card is going to be included with the purchase of the Kamizuka version, the original version of the comic book cover. So look out for that. Dream Book is, I happen to have
a crossover.
It is a crossover. This is Dream Book. So I'm just going to throw it out there for 2 seconds. Done.
Love that art.
And yeah, he's the maestro of that universe. So we definitely, it was a good opportunity and we wanted to do it. And so yeah, Dream Book is it's a trading card game.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah, by all means, anytime you guys have anything that you have a home on the show. Like, we want to help everybody get their word out there. Like you said, get the exposure, get your word out there. And if we can help turn one person onto it, then to me, that's a success. And especially because I'm super into trading card games. I'm into board, all that kind of good stuff. So I'm definitely going to be checking it out myself.
Thank you, Matt, Lauren. You guys are awesome.
Absolutely. Jesse, thanks for hanging out with us. Like I said, you're welcome to pop on anytime you want. Come hang out. Everybody else, the links to the Kickstarters, to all the socials, they're going to be right here in the bio. Please do yourself a favor. Go support an indie creator. Go check something out. You never know what you might find. You might be turned on to something. It might be your next new obsession. And you can say you were there from the start.
Why not? There you go.
Go ahead. Check it out. In the world of oversaturation, be sure to find the niche markets. And plus, Death Race, I connected to Fast and Furious in my head. And so therefore, like I said, I'm
when I watched the trailer, I thought about you and Fast and the Furious, just because
so you already know I'm racing. There. So get involved. We will see you guys.
But it looked way better than Fast and the Furious.
Of course. I mean,
sorry.
We do.
Thank you so much, Lauren. That's awesome. And Matt, I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody check us out next week. Go check out Jesse and Good Days Games. I swear to God, that is not a tongue twister. I just had one beer and apparently I can't talk. And here we are. We'll see you guys next week.
Cheers.